Okay, I think it's time we get this show on the road. Thank you very much indeed for joining us for the fall edition, or autumn if you're in Europe, edition of the Meraki Quarterly. My name is Simon Thompson, and I'm part of the marketing team here at Cisco Meraki, and I'm super excited to kick off today's. I'm actually presenting from London today, and most of the rest of the crew are in San Francisco, so we're a long way apart, but hopefully you will not be able to tell that if we do our job right. So let's get things started with a quick look at the quarterly and a quick review of what this thing is. It's a different kind of webinar to our usual motion. It's not really targeted at people who are brand new to Meraki, although if you are very welcome, and thank you very much for joining us. The reason I say that is that we really go straight into that you have familiarity with the Meraki portfolio already, and we're therefore able to sort of focus on what we've been doing over the last quarter alone on this product. So a lot of assumed knowledge there, but I think you'll find if you are already familiar with the portfolio that this will all make very good sense, and you'll see the ways in which the portfolio just continues to expand and add new capabilities all the time. And of course, that's exactly why we do the quarterly. If you are new to, please do stay with us and see what you can pick up. We do have a range of webinars which are designed specifically for people who are new to our portfolio, and you'll find details of those on our website. So I want to stress that this is a presentation that is looking back over the last quarter. So it's designed to be retrospective. What does that mean? That means we look backwards, not so much forwards. And so it is a roadmap-free zone. And those of us in the room today reserve the right to completely ignore any questions that you may choose to ask us about what is coming up in the future. That's not our job today. What's coming in the future will be here very soon, and there's always going to be something new. What we want to do is make sure that you're up to speed with what has been happening. So that's essentially what the Meraki Quarterly is all about, and we have a panel of presenters today who will take us through the presentations of the various different products. We'll also be running a Q&A the whole way through this presentation. So if you are on WebEx, please go to the Q&A panel, and you will find an opportunity there where you can ask questions. And please do that throughout the presentation. There's no need to wait to the end. We've got people who are going to be continuously helping to answer those questions, and we'll do our best to stay on top of those. We are recording this webinar, so if you want to pick up on some of this stuff later on, then do please check that out. It will be up on YouTube very soon. And if you are listening to this on YouTube, thanks very much for checking it out. If you have any questions, as I said, please use that Q&A tab. And there's no freebies with this one. There's no access point or any other Meraki technology with the Meraki Quarterly. Hopefully you already have some gear. If you don't, come along to the intro webinars and we'll do our best to get you sorted out. Okay, so let's get on to the first presentation today. And I'm the lucky person who gets to present on the MX, or the security appliance, which runs our SD-WAN portfolio as well. And the first thing I want to just go through is a quick recap of some really nice recognition that we've had for our SD-WAN portfolio from IDC. So I think this is the time of year where a lot of the big analyst firms are putting out their reports, which show the progress of the various different vendors for different technologies. And when it comes to SD-WAN, obviously that's a huge focus for us, and we've been doing this now for around sort of 2 to 3 years. And so we're very well versed in the world of SD-WAN at this point in time. And we are one of Cisco's 2 overwhelmingly prevalent technologies for SD-WAN, the other one being Viptela, which is more for the on-premises based technology. You can think of what we have at Meraki, of course, as the cloud managed approach to the solution. So we have these 2 offers that Cisco takes out to the market. Meraki, obviously, very, very significant part of that story. So we were called out as a strength in the report from IDC, and they placed Cisco squarely in the leaders quadrant, which of course is where you should expect us to be every single year. And you can see, and I think this is something we're all very proud of indeed, that combined the two offers from Cisco, we're at about 50% of market share for SD-WAN. And frankly, for an organization like Cisco, that's exactly where we should be. So we're obviously delighted about that. And thank you very much if you are a user of our SD-WAN technologies. And I want to just quickly take us through a customer story. We have a really nice customer story here from Associated Bank. So a pretty large organization with over 5,000 employees and over 250 branches. Absolutely the sweet spot for a Meraki technology deployment. And so they had some challenges. Their WAN didn't have enough capacity. They really wanted to be able to enhance their management and operations, and they needed a WAN seamlessly. And of course, that goes without saying. We want our wide area networks and our local area networks to work completely smoothly. We want to be able to manage those very easily wherever we happen to be. So they deployed an SD-WAN solution from Cisco Meraki. And as you can see, Tim from Associated Bank, super happy with this, transformed their WAN from a business constraint to a business enabler. Those of you who've worked in wide area network engineering, you'll know that it is much easier to say this stuff than it is to do it. Providing a reliable wide area network with excellent redundancy is, of course, paramount to our function, but it's a lot easier said than done. There's a lot of different technologies out there, and some of them are very expensive. What we've done with SD-WAN is make it much simpler for the technology to take some of that load from us and to make sure that we are using our optimum connections at any particular time. So this is a classic case of replacing technology, very efficient, but expensive and complex to configure, and that's MPLS. And as you can see, a significant improvement in performance. I had to do a double take when I looked at these numbers, 7,800% bandwidth increase for branch locations. You have to wonder what some of them were running before. And they're saving over $500,000 annually as a result of moving to an SD-WAN solution from Cisco Meraki. So really, we see a lot of these kind of stories, and you'll find more of those on our website. But we wanted to share this one with you. It's just another underscore, really, for the success of this part of our portfolio that we're very proud of. So I also want to introduce a new technology which you can get switched on at this point in time if you want to try it out. And it's called Firewall Objects. A very straightforward concept, and this is something that we've done before. If you want to be able to create groups of rules, you can now easily do that. So we've now made the ability for you to create logical groupings of firewall rules, and then you can, of course, apply those easily to your different sites. And again, this saves you a lot of time. If you think about all those firewall rules you could potentially end up with if you're used to using access control lists, then you'll be very familiar with how long these can grow to. We want to try and take out as much of the pain as we can from that whole exercise. So these firewall objects are really going to help with that. If it is a technology you'd like to give a try to, it is in beta right now, but you can try it out if you just reach out to your Meraki rep, contact Meraki support. We'll get you set up as quickly as we can. Okay, so with that, I think it's time for me to move past the mic over to Nikita.
Hello, and a very good morning to everyone. Thanks for joining us for this webinar this morning today. Here to talk about some updates with regarding to Meraki Insight. So for you who've cringed at troubleshooting, and you guys can now take a sigh of relief because MI has come up with a new monitoring tool called the VoIP Health. So VoIP Health basically focuses to find the underlying problem on the network. So if you're trying to place a call on the network, it will tell you beforehand if the call is going to have performance issues. So if you see, this is the look and feel of the VoIP Health, very, very similar to the WAN Health. So for those of you who use Meraki Insight, there's not going to be much of a learning curve. And the VoIP Health also gives you the banner, which tells you like how many networks are performing bad, moderate, and poor performance. So that's a good feel for you to get a glance of how many networks are really performing badly, and you can take immediate next steps. Also, the other thing that we've added with respect to VoIP Health is the drill down page. So the drill down page does give you the MOS, the loss, and the latency jitter graphs, and you can slide the window to see how many, like what's the loss and the latency for the 2 hours last week or last day. The other most interesting thing that we've added to VoIP Health is the Run Traceroute tool. This traceroute tool, basically, if you run, it'll tell you which hop is the VoIP really performing badly or the performance is degrading. So you can like call the respective parties and ask them to take, steps without having to determine where exactly along the path is the voice performing badly. So yeah, this wipe health is in beta. Also, it'll answer your underlying question as to why your wipe quality is poor. That is the biggest challenge for IT folks out there. So for right now, we're leveraging, or this wipe health is using the wipe cloud services. We'll also be releasing on-prem as well. So for those of you interested, please contact your Meraki account managers and sign up for this. So hope to see you guys there, and over to Melissa now.
All right. Thanks, everyone. My name's Melissa, and I'm on the marketing team. I cover our cloud and platform product portfolio. And the first thing I want to talk to you about, if you've been following Meraki on Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook, which of course you have, you're sitting in on the quarterly, so I'm sure you're following us there as well. You may have seen some promotions of a few different webinars that we're hosting on the Cisco DevNet Bright Talk channel. As we've been further investing in our API platform, we've also been partnering more and more with the folks at Cisco DevNet to help provide developers with resources like these. So the first two webinars you see there are now available on demand as streaming content. The first is on Meraki automation. It's basically a 101 guide on how to get started using the Meraki dashboard API. Really great resource. The second webinar that was put on recently was about streamlining management of layer 3 firewall rules in Cisco Meraki networks. Another really great API session that's available on demand. And wanted to point folks to this upcoming session on October 29th. If you're totally new to APIs and want to get started and want to understand what people are using APIs for on the Meraki platform, this is a great session to take advantage of. So that's October 29th, and there's a link there to sign up. We also released episode of the Meraki Unboxed podcast last quarter, which was really exciting. On that session, MC Simon Thompson, which you're hearing on the webinar today, spoke with API product manager Tony Carmichael about everything about our API strategy and platform, how folks are using APIs in the real world. It really quickly became the most popular podcast that we've had on our channel or on our podcast series. So please take a look, listen in, hear what all the excitement is about, and wanted to give you a heads up that on October 16th, we have another API focused podcast episode coming out. So tune in and listen to that one as well. Last quarter, we also talked about the DevNet certification announced recently. These are developer level certifications recognized by Cisco that basically certify folks in different Cisco technologies, including Cisco Meraki technologies. So if you do want to look into those certifications, looking to broaden your career with those, we have some resources available on the Meraki community. And this little animation here is showing you exactly how to get there. So on the community, click that green bar to the Learning Hub, scroll down and click on the DevNet certifications with all of the information on how to study, where to get started, and more information about the process. We also have some new endpoints that we've released over the last quarter. These are just some of the bigger ones that we wanted to highlight here. You are able now to configure quality on switches. You're also able to configure dashboard branding policies via the API. You're able to manage, upload, and retrieve floor plans and place Meraki on those floor plans. That was a really big one that we released as well. And monitor our MX appliance dynamic DNS host names. Excuse me. There's a lot more available on the What's New page on the Developer Hub, so that's something to check out to get a full list of everything that we released in the last quarter, which was the past 3 months or so. And a couple of projects I wanted to highlight here. We recently released this really cool open source switch swapping application. This is a really lightweight web app that we built in-house that allows you to use the dashboard API to really easily swap out and clone switches in an environment. So you can see on the animation there, you can really easily imagine someone holding their phone, using this tool to swap out gear on site without having to be granted access into dashboard and be clicking through dashboard to make those switch swaps. Basically, you can see here we're choosing a source switch, a destination switch, and having the option to clone that switch or remove the source switch. Really easy, great tool. And this project here is available for you to access the source code, repurpose this application, and use it in your environment. It's available on the Explore page of the Developer Hub. Another project I wanted to highlight, and this is one we're really excited about here, is a project that's also released on the Explore page of the Developer Hub. This is another open source project that basically allows you to use Node-RED to produce these drag and drop programming tools for the Meraki Dashboard API. So this is really cool for anyone who wants to make programming even easier and take some of the work out. You're able to use these Node-RED nodes to basically drag and drop commands and focus on the flow that you want to create without having to script out all of the boilerplate code around that flow. We have a full guide on how to use this and a live demo available on the Explore page. It's a really cool project. Definitely want to point you to that to take a look. And for more projects like this and more examples of source code and guides to get started with Meraki APIs, I wanted to point you to our Explore page. This is where we host all of our different projects, like our Google Sheets integration we talked about last quarter, like these Node-RED and Switch Swapper projects. Go ahead and take a look on our Explore page of the Developer Hub. The last thing I wanted to talk about month in September, we attended the Cisco Smart Spaces Summit. This is a really cool event where Cisco product managers, our partners, customers, and some software vendors came together to really quickly brainstorm, design, and print out some proof of concepts across Cisco and Meraki technologies around the theme of better workplace solutions. So the Cisco technologies we worked on there were Meraki, of course, WebEx, Contact Center, and DNA Spaces. And some other technologies that we incorporated were things like Maze Map and IBM Watson's, their space planning applications, a lot of different other technologies. Basically, what the teams there did was use those APIs to identify some use cases that could benefit from really quick um, solutions and coding. We have a blog that came out yesterday that really goes into details on this and showcases some of the solutions, things like using the Meraki cameras with WebEx tools to identify executives and automatically launch meetings in a meeting space, or measure allocation of hot desks in an environment and make recommendations on how better to allocate those spaces. A lot of cool examples, and hope you guys can come to the blog and take a look. Next, I'm going to hand it off to Jeevan to talk about our camera solution.
Hey, thank you, Melissa. It's an amazing and a proud moment for me to talk about all the different innovations in the MV team. Today, I'm going to present on behalf of Sarah Lynn. So first and foremost, wanted to give you a quick bird's eye view of what has the MV team been on. There are a variety of UX improvements, and as much as we love the dashboard, we can stay on it all day long. But when we sort of realize that you, the customer, are actually playing with our dashboard, you want to achieve a certain business outcome. So we want to give you your outcome as soon as possible. So that's the first thing I'm going to cover. Some cool new things that the camera team has been working on. Since then, sort of I'm going to jump into the better motion visibility. So this is a big challenge, as you can imagine. Sort of every time there's a motion, there might be, if you have an outdoor camera, have a different sort of flag that's moving around. There might be a bird that's flying by. There may be a lot of distractions that are happening. How do you actually track the motion appropriately? How do you alert at the right times so you don't get distracted? You don't want to get hundreds of alerts every single day, right? So there are a lot of cool innovations that have come into the camera portfolio that actually help you optimize and customize all of these configurations. And then last but not the least, you guys remember, we do a lot of cool machine learning model. Instead of boring you guys with what particular algorithm we use, let me show you what are the kinds of new incredible benefits that you can achieve because of these. So first and foremost, let's talk about timeline navigation changes. This is where, as a picture out here, this is an exceptional GIF that sort of shows you this. If you have your mouse, you can sort of zoom in and zoom out by simply scrolling a mouse. Or if you're just working off a laptop and you have a touchpad, you can just swipe up and down to zoom in and zoom out. Pretty quick, pretty nifty. It prevents you multiple different clicks, multiple different, challenges in order to get to what's the outcome you're trying to. The next one is, again, incredibly intuitive. Imagine if in the middle of the afternoon you really have to get your pour over and you're going to walk over. You can actually go back into yesterday and sort of, understand, let me see how busy was this coffee area at this particular time. As the picture sort of shows you, when you have a gap in that timeline, that basically means that there is no motion at that particular time. So if I were to have my coffee, I would actually go between 1:25 p.m. and 1:30 p.m. And not bother going there between 1:35 and 1:45 p.m. So that's the way you sort of interpret it. The more solid the bar basically means that there is a lot of motion, there's a lot of people. So you can extrapolate this example out to a retail customer of your environment. You could be a bank, you could be any public location. But what's phenomenal about this is you could just use line and you could simply hover over it and get a lot of detail. This particular capability is called event stacking. As the name suggests, one of the best parts about this is, imagine if you have a long motion recap. Let's say it's 1.5 minutes long. So what this is going to do, it'll basically split it out into three uh, bite-sized components of 30 seconds. Now, if you have a stack of three cards, you're thinking, how am I going to go to the third one without having to watch the first two 30-second clips? And don't worry about it. We've solved next slide, which is essentially called as hover scrub. As this GIF again shows you, if you just hover over this, you can actually understand that it's showing you a quick clip of what's happening in the first, the second, and the third segment. Super easy, right? We can spend long on our dashboard, but we want to make sure you get your business outcomes as soon as you want. Now, this is another cool thing, export. Isn't it painful when you have to click on something and then you have to wait forever for this download to happen? No more. So with respect to the export button, the second that you click on it, your video is going to be downloaded immediately. So this is where, we are adding even more capability. Again, we want to enable you to get your output within seconds. Now, this is by far my personal favorite, Motion Alerts 2.0. The specific thing that I really like is that you can actually sensitivity, on these different alerts. It's extremely painful if you get 100 alerts a day. It basically means you are desensitized to these different alerts. You are not going to bother about them. So what's amazing about this is you could actually set these different limits and you could figure out, based on these, how many alerts do I expect to see? So based upon your previous few days, you can actually understand that if you get a certain handful of alerts, you can actually, action upon them. So this is what makes it incredibly interesting, incredibly powerful for me. Anybody that's managed a network, anybody that's managed a large scale deployment, the benefit and power of this. So I'm super excited with this, really proud of Motion Alerts 2.0. Now, this is another one that's again a very interesting thing. Imagine if you're in an environment that requires you to alert based upon people. Now, Meraki, as you know, is a dog-friendly environment. We've got lots of dogs going around. Imagine if you just want to track the number of people, so you can actually sort of action upon them. So you can figure out, when is it people that are moving, and imagine if you have non-person, that's moving. Maybe it's a bird, maybe it's something else that's going around. These are the kinds of cool innovations, that we keep adding to the portfolio, and that's what makes me incredibly proud. Meraki is the magic that keeps giving you more. Now, this is another one section. So we are seeing quite a bit of adoption of the new cameras in the outdoor environments. You could be actually deploying it in a drive-through. You could be deploying it in a garage. Imagine if you have the ability to detect a vehicle. So Saralin also has a great community article that sort of shows you it's tied to the power of the API. You can actually start tracking the vehicle ID and sort of, start getting more interesting analytics. So this is where I think combine the power of the camera with the power of the API becomes even more powerful. But by itself, this camera to detect and identify that this is a vehicle. Now, for a wireless guy like me, this part is incredibly interesting. Remember, last December, you could start placing in a map. What we've done this quarter is actually gone one step ahead. So you can actually start placing all the Gen 2 cameras within this particular map. And what this is showing you is if you place a MV2, MV22, and MV72, you guys know that these are all directional cameras. So depending on where the direction of the curve, you can actually point it in that direction, and you can make sure when you look at the map, you can see, okay, I'm protecting the data center entrance, I'm protecting these particular environments, I'm protecting the various sensitive areas in the bank. So you can definitely see a great view of this. In fact, what's even more cooler is we have a fisheye camera, the MV32, you can actually see the field of view, which is circular in nature. So this is where, I find we are getting even more interesting, even more incredible. And when you look at the map, you will know exactly, what is being covered and what. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to my buddy Noah to cover Systems Manager.
Thank you, Jivan. Moving on from MV to Systems Manager. I'm Noah Salzman. I'm the product manager for Systems Manager. And today we're going to talk about a couple of things that we did the last quarter, both fairly recent. The first is the big Apple release that happened in the last few weeks, both on iOS and macOS. And exciting if you're one of our many Systems Manager customers that uses Apple in their environment. There are just dozens of new features in iOS 13 and macOS. And whether it is new payloads or big new capabilities, it's our intention to make sure that all of those are available for you when the release comes out. The few that I'm going to note here are the single sign-on extension for iOS and macOS. It's a big new change, especially if you're in a corporate environment using single sign-on. Certainly something you want to pay attention to. Additionally, the other feature worth noting amongst the many features in both of these releases is a web filter for macOS. This is something that has existed before on iPhones and iPads, but new for macOS. And then finally, just a quick note, you may want to pay attention to the new capability that allows you to get a little control over network drives or USB drives, something that I've been asking for a long time on those platforms. A quick look at how you might set up the single sign-on features. You can use your own custom extension type for single sign-on, or you can use Kerberos. We're getting a little deep in the technical world there, but certainly something that if you've been waiting for this on macOS, certainly something to pay attention to. The item that a lot of our schools have been waiting for, we have tons of schools that use Systems Manager today, is the web filtering on macOS. Once again, previously available on iOS, and you'll note over time Apple has been trying to, in the mobile device management world or endpoint mobility management world, trying to align macOS to iOS. We're really happy to see them produce this feature. It gives you a capability to either just use your own defined web filtering or a plugin, both of which are supported in Systems Manager. Now, I joke about this a lot. We talk about geofencing, the new feature that's just available, brand new feature. And I say rectangles. Everyone's excited about rectangles. It makes a difference. Previously, we only allowed you to specify a circle or many circles for defining where the edge of your business campus was, or where the school was, or the town in which you wanted that geofence to exist. So geofencing, of course, is the ability to say, I want to get alerted, or I want some action to happen, some policy to occur when a device leaves a geofence. And it's much easier to draw interesting shapes around your school, campus, or city if you can both do arcs and lines. So that's what the new rectangles feature gets us. If you check this out, please also look at the tagging page. the tagging page has new geofence tags, which allows you to have better logic for whether a device is entered into a geofence, whether it's left a geofence. It's a much improved feature and one that we hope more people will use. That is our quarter with, but to Jivan again.
Thank you, Noah, again. It's a pleasure to be back. Now I'm going to share the MR updates. And again, wanted to highlight, just like Simon with the MX part of the portfolio, I'm very happy and proud to announce that Cisco continues to be a leader for the wired and the wireless LAN part of the portfolio. If you've noticed from the previous year, we have actually inched up and to the right a little bit more. So of course, that's the right direction. Continue to move. And this was no surprise given that both on the amazing Catalyst as well as the Cisco Meraki side of the portfolio, we actually introduced new Wi-Fi 6 access points as well as the multi-gigabit switches. Both of these have seen incredible adoption in the market. So we want to thank you, all of you customers, for the support that we are getting from this. One of the key points that's actually really bringing us together is all of the Meraki portfolio is actually created with the open and extensible APIs, and those are actually used in order to integrate with the Cisco DNA. This is why Cisco DNA Center is able to manage the Meraki portfolio through the Meraki dashboard APIs, and this is what Gartner is also pretty impressed with and proud of. We also have a shout out for the camera within this that talks about the different innovations that we introduce for enabling you to have location-based capabilities. That I wanted to re-emphasize, and Noah touched upon this briefly with respect to the Apple parts of this. All the different clients introduced now with Wi-Fi 6. Back when Meraki introduced the Wi-Fi 6 APs, MR45 and MR55, we told you that we were working closely with a variety of different client vendors in order to actually test and confirm that all the different products are going to work great. And this is why when you buy Cisco Meraki, you can be confident that we are actually testing all these different products. Amazing 6 clients, before they are introduced to the market, before the Meraki APs were actually introduced, they were being tested within all of these labs. So very happy and proud to note that Wi-Fi 6 clients are now starting to really get adopted. And I expect over this Christmas break, many of you will continue to buy our latest amazing MR45, 55s, as well as the MGig access switch portfolios. Now, the most exciting for me is actually, this particular webinar is what we are coming up with. So if you guys are big fans of golf, like I am, you can definitely see that this particular US golf tournament was the most connected US Open in history. So if you are actually following one of these golfers and wanted to follow not just the statistics, but if you are actually there in person, you're going to take a lot of pictures, a lot of videos, and share them on Instagram or pick your favorite social media, you could sort of get amazing coverage with this. And this was done by amazing experts within this. Matt Schwartz has done a lot of deployments within stadiums, so he's a distinguished engineer within Cisco. You can hear from Amanda, who's the senior director for USGA. So I'm very happy and proud to talk about this. Don't miss this. I'm going to be there and all of you guys to show up to this. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Simon for all the additional announcements.
So really excited to announce that we've decided to bring back what was probably our most popular promotion we've ever run at Cisco Meraki, called First Year on Us. So this is a promotion that enables you, frankly, to get something for free from Cisco Meraki. You buy your products, you buy your licenses, and we're going to boost the number of years worth of licensing that you've got available to you there. So this is a really exciting promotion, and you'll find details about this on our website. I definitely recommend you reach out to your Meraki contact if this is something you would like to look into. And of course, if you are catching up with the quarterly on a recording on YouTube, then obviously it is time dependent, but just reach out to your contact and we'll do our best to get you connected as quick as we can. Okay, so I think what we'll do now is we'll take a little bit of time to just look at some of the questions. What I'd love to do is just share some of the Q&A that has come in over the course of the presentation today. So I definitely would ask the presenters to stay on standby just in case I need to relay any of these questions. But let's have a look and see what we have here as we go down through the list. We've gone through quite a lot in quite a short space of time already today. One of the questions that we had near the beginning of the presentation was around the MX, and I mentioned this new feature called Firewall Objects, and we had a question about whether there was any firmware dependency in order to be able to run that Firewall Objects capability. The answer is no. So whatever you're running on your MX today, you're going to be able to take advantage of that feature. And once again, if that is something you'd like to try out, it's really going to help you to scale your firewall rules and manage those more easily. Just please reach out to your Meraki contact or to Meraki support, and we will get you connected as quickly as we can. So there was a question also around, so on a similar vein, around VoIP health. So once again, this is a feature which you'll need to reach out to support for. So if you'd like to give that a try, then please do reach out to support. They'll get you set up with a trial so you can take that for a spin and see if it's going to be a good fit for you. I think it's definitely a product which has come a long way. Meraki Insight is really helping administrators to make sure they understand any sort of sources of issues in a much more proactive way. So if they are moving services to wide area networks and they're maybe running VoIP services across those WANs, this tool is obviously really going to help with that. So I'm just having a look down the list here. Bear with me a second. So we had a question here about content filtering on the MX and whether there was any option to block email notifications or reports. And so this is actually a capability that we can put in place via the third party that we work with. So that's Bright Cloud. So please put a request into the Make-A-Wish box on there, and we'll make sure we get that sent back. And so just in case you're not looking at the Q&A yourself, if you want to try out that API seminar, there is a URL here, brighttalk.com/channel/17628. Okay, continuing to scroll down here. So we had a question as well about one of our training courses. We have a number of different training courses that we run from Meraki for both partners and for customers as well. And you can find the details on those on our website, but also a very good place to get more information about those is at community.meraki.com. The community was primarily set up initially to help support those that we've trained and those who are interested in going through training programs or who have follow-up questions having been through those training programs. So that's definitely the best place to go and where you're most likely to get the latest answers for availability of training wherever you happen to be. We also recorded a podcast about the training and evangelism team. So if you want to learn more about their work and the options that are available for getting trained up on Meraki and becoming a Meraki guru, then once again, please do have a look at our podcast. You can find that if you just search for Meraki Unboxed in your podcast app, you'll find it there, and you'll find the episode very easily if you look. All right, keeping on going down the team, we had some kudos for the MV team. Yeah, that was definitely some really nice updates as always from the MV team. That really is a product that's developing and continuing to add really nice new features that are making quite a big difference in the world of security cameras and smart camera technology. Okay, I'm still scrolling down. So I did get a question here about BGP on the MX. The question is not, but if you if you're having any difficulty with getting BGP set up, then do please take advantage of our support team to get some help with that. We have had BGP available on the MX for some time now. So depending on your configuration, if you need some help, obviously the support team's there to help you. That's part of your license so that they can be there 24/7 to help you. So do please reach out to them. It looks like somebody was unlucky enough to miss some of the show. As I said, great news is that we always put these up on YouTube. So if you just wait for about a week or so, typically about a week's time, you'll find that the quarterly recording will be up on YouTube. So you can look back at that and obviously review any material you're particularly interested in. We had a question about Cisco Umbrella. So that's what used to be called OpenDNS. And that technology is now built right into Meraki in a number of different places. So we already have it available on the MR, of course, and it's now in beta for the MX as well. So this is really a significant step forward for really securing your network efficiently using DNS capability in the databases that Umbrella has available to it. If you haven't tried that out, definitely recommend you give that a go. It's really going to make a difference and locks down your environment that bit more, enables you to set policies and rules for different individuals within your organization to make sure people get access just to what they actually need to get access to. So we had a question about how we're doing licensing on Meraki Insight or MI. This is the product. It's a software-based product, and it uses the MX as essentially its hardware that it runs on, and enables you to monitor and more accurately describe or identify the source of potential slowdowns that your users might be experiencing. So if you get tickets raised saying the network's slow, you can now look and see, is that on the wide area network? Is it maybe the server that they're connecting to if it's a cloud hosted server? And so on. So there was a question about the licensing of that. It's actually based on sizes related to the MX models that you're using. So once again, there are full details about that on our website. If you go to meraki.com, you will soon be able to find Meraki Insight and how that actually from a licensing perspective. So another training question around certified Meraki solution specialist. Once again, I would recommend checking out the podcast we recorded recently, but also if that question remains unanswered, then community.meraki.com is definitely where you're going to get the right people to help answer those questions. Just bear with me for a few more moments. So I think I love this question here about where you can get more information on the Meraki roadmap. I think always the best thing to do with what we have and what we're working on is to get in touch with your Meraki contact, be that in sales, be that in support. What we try and do all the time is make sure that we're communicating as much as we can about what we're working on and what we want to bring to the market next. Your feedback and shows us what you're really interested in. And we've had a number of questions today about AnyConnect for the MX. There's no use in hiding it because it comes up every time. We know that it's a very heavily demanded feature. And we hear that feedback loud and clear. I can assure you that the product teams have that close to heart in mind. So we will communicate the moment that we're able to about anything to do with that. But in the meantime, really the best thing, stay in close contact with your Meraki contact, or just come back to the Meraki Quarterly, because you can be sure that we will always make sure we communicate anything new that we can share with you. And that's really why this webinar exists. So there was another question about whether there'll be any more of these particular sessions. I'm going to hope that that question is about whether there'll be another Meraki Quarterly. Absolutely, because it is one of our most popular webinars. We absolutely love running this one because it lets us bring folks back who have been with Meraki for, in many cases, quite a long time. And it really is where they can get a comprehensive recap of what we've been up to over the past quarter. And the whole reason we set this up in the first place is because there is so much going on at Meraki all the time. And so it can be easy to lose touch with what is actually being introduced. So we will keep these going. And we definitely love having you here. So please do keep giving us those difficult questions. Remember that we do want to answer as many as we possibly can. And every bit of feedback that we get is relayed internally. So you can be sure that you're being heard here. All right, it looks like we've got through all the questions today. So we're going to be able to wrap up the webinar today. So thank you again for joining us on today's Meraki Quarterly. The group here and in London and in San Francisco, we really love putting this on for you. And we definitely look forward to welcoming you back at another quarterly in 2020. The new year is nearly with us. The new decade is nearly with us. So we look forward to speaking to you then. Have a great day. Bye-bye for now.